Well, folks, I'm going to have to kind of give a background to this story before I show part two of our Wyoming trip. Well, as you saw in the last video, part one, we got a flat tire in the RV. We were following, biggest mistake ever, and I can't believe we made it, but there was really no good directions that we noticed at the time. So we head over to this town called Hyattville. We stop at the Paint Rock Inn and ate. So we grabbed, I guess it would be like early dinner, because we knew we were going up the mountain. We had plenty of food in the RV, but it was like, I don't mind checking out local places and giving them a try. Let's check this place out. So good bar, awesome food. I mean, most epic food I've had in a long time. In fact, we bought some homemade hot sauce from the guy. And, we said where we were going. No one ever said anything like you can't make it up to that campground, or it's not open this time of the year, or that's not the way to go. You should probably go this way or that way. No one said anything. So that's kind of a letdown, but okay. So we head up this mountain, and it starts off as a nice graded road going up. We're following the GPS. Okay, we got to go left over here. So we go left, and it gets a little worse, and then a little worse, and then a little worse. And unfortunately, as we were stopped to look at the hill, we didn't even hear the tire explode. We were almost to this campground. And we're looking at this hill. We're like, well, we've made it this far so far. Let's, I guess, keep trugging along, right? Let's just go up and see what happens. And we were also debating whether to unload a bike, maybe go run it and see. And as we're walking back to the RV, I'm looking at the tire because it was on the passenger side. I'm like, that looks awfully low. Like, is it sitting funny, right? And I'm like, Aaron, I think we got a problem. And he comes over and sidewalls just peeled. And I walk back, see the rocks we hit. It had just occurred. Which means, okay, now we got to get turned around. So we have to get turned around. So we turn around, kind of plow through a few sagebrush, but, it is what it is, right? Because you got to get out of there. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere. No one's going to probably be around this time of the year, possibly, from the looks of it. And we make our way all the way back into that town. Before getting to that town, because we knew there was no cell service in that town, Aaron called State Farm. So he put in a thing. They and said where we were going to be at. Actually, an hour later, the guy was there. That was actually pretty damn impressive. So we go back into the town. We go back inside, get a drink, and order the nachos. Best nachos ever. Started talking. Guy shows up, changes the tire, bada boom, bada bing. We're good to go. The spare is old, but it's brand new. Fine. Doesn't matter. Whatever. It gets us back going. And while we were out on the road there, with the RV in front of in this town, Hyattville, this guy rolled up in a Ford Expedition, old beat up thing, but with kids in there and stuff, an older guy. And he says, oh, you want to take Alkaline Road. So we decide, after the tire was changed, okay, let's just keep going, forging ahead, let's get to our campground, or a campground. And so we followed that, and it goes for like 23 miles, pretty rough road. But we make it. It starts off fine, gets a little worse, typical scenario, but not overall bad, no issues. We get to a spot where I guess there was an open gate, and then you can go left, or you can go right. Left said 15 miles back to US 14. Right says to the campground we're looking for. Well, fuck, okay. So we go right. There were some car tracks or some set of tracks or a truck or whatever, but they and some logs cut out of the road. But then we got to this hill almost to the campsite. I think the campsite is at 9,800 feet or 9,400 feet, something like that. This last like hill, man, it had ice. And of course, it got colder at night, and we couldn't get the RV up it. And we had to unload the trailer, get the RV back up, turned around, load the trailer back up, and we're like, okay, we'll just go back the way we came for now. So we get back to that split. Look at the sign. It says 15 miles. Clearly, there's tracks, right? So somebody's been that way. So okay, let's go that way. 15 miles is shorter than going back the other way. That's like 23 miles. I kind of doze off. I probably wasn't asleep that long, but I get woken up. I kind of felt a jostle, and Aaron's like, oh no. Well, okay, so we hit this ice going up this incline. It spun the back end around to the left. And we get out to look, and it's like, oh, the inside dually is still on pavement. The other is on like the softest shit ever. Gonna fall off. And luckily it's nighttime, so that stuff is kind of hard, so it's supporting the weight. And we decide, we can't turn around. We can't back up. Probably gonna fall off if we back up. Let's unhook the trailer, take that weight away. And I said, well, let's make a retaining wall. Luckily, there was a lot of rock there, pretty big pieces, spread out the weight of that tire as it's going to roll across on that outside. And so I put rock along the bank, big rocks, and some flat rocks across the top. And Aaron got in, and oh my God, I thought he was going to slide down the hill. Gave it all she had. That back kind of came out a little bit more, but then was on the road, and oh, that was a pucker factor. That was a pucker factor for sure. So then we load the bikes back, trailer back up, and we had to drag the trailer up this incline. It was heavier than you think, and then load the bikes. Then we get around the next corner. There's a freaking incline of snow. It's like, luckily this time, the snow has been dug out with a bulldozer, it turned out. And you can see the bulldozer tracks right through it. But they didn't scrape it down to the dirt. So there was ice underneath. So we didn't make it up the first go as he came around the corner and went. And I think he was a little nervous too to give it all she had because you don't want to slide off the mountain. But on the left side, luckily, it was probably 2 feet high of hard snow, and it was a couple feet, 3 feet high on the right side. So unload the trailer again, back the RV with trailer this time, because I knew, well, if we take the trailer off and you make it through, we can't pull that trailer up. The other spot was hard enough, a short distance and going over ice. There is no way in hell we'd be able to do that. So Aaron, I got him. As he's backing up, my short Kindon trailer is hard to back up, and hard to back up for an RV because you can't see shit. So I had to tell him he'd go back maybe 4 feet, and I had to like just by hand pick that back end, slide it over, and then he'd go again another 4 or 5 feet. I do the same thing probably 100 times. It was so bad. At this point, it's probably like 3:30 in the morning. So we're tired. We're wore out. We've been working hard, man. Working hard and just mentally exhausted. Yeah, what time do you press a PLB, you know? We weren't in danger. We had food. We still had fuel in the RV. So weren't to that point, but I did bring it up. Like, I do have a PLB. When do we press it? You know, at some point, you're going to have to press it. Because who knows if anyone's going to be out. Who knows if the road gets worse. All we knew is through this bank, that was like, it was steep too. Through this was a cattle guard, because I walked up there in a big open area. I'm like, okay, worst case we could turn around, but how would we get back past the narrow spot where we almost went off the mountain? We would have to chip away at that ice and make it so it's wide enough to get through. I don't know, man. I don't know if we could have done that or not. That was an option. But it's like, well, let's get to the top of this and then assess everything. And so, we get the trailer, RV trailer, far enough back, and luckily it was a long straight run, and he just gunned it up, and it just made it up all that snow, and trailers bouncing. The Kindin trailer with no weight on it, which is fine. He got it up there, gets to the top. Then we have to get the bikes back up, get the bikes reloaded onto and we have 3 bikes on a Kindin, so 2 and then 1 reverse, so it fits. Luckily, these are electric bikes, so only the Arctic Leopard is 239 pounds. The other one is 180, and the Rar Mantis is 165. So, not too bad, but we're pretty tired at this point. Aaron wants to camp at the top, and I'm just like, no, man, let's just continue down. I'm going to gear up. I'm going to ride the Arctic Leopard, so let's just load 2 bikes. I'll take the Arctic Leopard, and I'll scout down. By this point, it is light out. By the time I gear up and everything, as you will see in part 3 of the video tomorrow, is that I go down, and short gist of it, we get down to a lock gate. Oh my God, a lock gate. But it's at a campground. Just had to track down the camp host. Luckily, he had a key. They were nice. In the end, we had to talk to the rangers. And yeah, so next video will be a little long, but I just want to include it all. And oh my God, the only riding we did, or I did, was at that moment to scout ahead, because we were stuck. So we learned a lot about Wyoming. I'll go ahead and talk about that in this video for a few minutes. Wyoming is mixed singles online. One place will say closed, one will say open. You really have to call. So we learned, Wyoming, you better call, because nothing's correct. Those campgrounds that I knew were coming up by the roadway at the end on Google Maps all said closed. So, for example, those were closed, but they were all open. In reality, they were open. I don't know what the Forest Service said about those ones, because no data, no cell, nothing. It's just what was cached in the maps at the time. So that sucked. And Aaron had a Venza and the multi-vehicle use map, but that doesn't tell you shit. So, you definitely want to call. And then here's an example. So for the next day, we go to another campground, and we know we're not going to ride. We're going to make our way back. Let's just make our way back. Well, actually, it's the same day. So we slept till noon, got in the RV, went to Sink Campground, I think it's called, the Sink National Park or State Park. And the state park stuff was all taken. We drove through that. Then the Forest Service, it was free camping. No one there. It was nice. So we camped there. But for example, on our way, before we get there, when we had cell reception, online it all said closed. The Forest Service site said it was closed. Google Maps said it was closed. We call. They're like, nah, it's open. What the fuck? So thank you, Wyoming, for not being too accurate online and not updating your website. And also another thing is not posting signs saying, hey, seasonal route or something doesn't open till mid-June. June 15th is what they told us the other one typically opens at. Why wasn't there sign coming from the other way? And apparently there's 3 ways in. One, we got a flat tire. The other should have, I guess, had a closed gate that wasn't closed. And then the campground gate that was closed, we had no idea. No idea. So bad information, bad intel, and I guess this could happen to anyone. And I'm thank God we did not make it on the local news or some crazy stuff like that for getting stuck out there. And who knows when they were going to come back up. The camp host said so-and-so was going to take their ATVs up today, blah, 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 and see what's going on up there. Well, somebody probably went up. If it wasn't that day, they went up the next day. Although the rangers, we ended up having a talk to explain everything, because we slept in the campground, and that gave time, I guess. I don't know. Somehow the Rangers knew there was a vehicle that was at the gate. I don't know if, like, the one only other person in this campground section went and told somebody. But so they came, and we had just woke up, and we had to explain ourselves, and they took notes, and they couldn't believe we made it through. And we're like, yeah, barely in the two spots. I mean, if you have the dozer up there, if you doze those spots, yeah, it's basically open. And they were like, oh, that's good. Well, June 15th is almost up here. Today, recording this, is June 10th. So they have like 5 days to get it open. You would have thought they would have been a little more further ahead and done a little bit better job pushing that ice and snow off that they did make. And obviously somebody had been through with a truck, because we were following some tire prints, So unfortunately an RV is a little wider, a lot heavier, and yeah, it is what it is. The gist of the story is be careful, and don't trust websites. But the thing with an RV is you can't just turn around, as people know, and you can't just back up because you have a trailer. You're pretty much stuck pushing forward until you get to a wide spot, and then that's where us, human nature, everyone is like, well, fuck, I've made it this far. Why not just keep pushing ahead is closer than turning around? Maybe sometimes it's best to not think that way and just be like, yeah, let's just turn around, man. Let's just turn around, pull over, we'll camp, and then deal with it the next day and just get to that area, which we would have still not made it to the campground, but we would have made it, the one we were trying to go to, but we would have made it to a campground with a locked gate. And then we could have just, I guess, rode from there or figured out what we wanted to do. So kind of a bust for a trip. They said come back in July, August is the best time to typically come back to Wyoming in the high country. That will be forever ingrained in my mind. July and August. Okay, now we know. Wow. So anyway, y'all take care, be safe, and remember, life is short, so anything could happen, and we were close to going off the road, man. Close. We could have been out there, could have been in real trouble. So y'all take care. Have a good one.